Welcome to another great edition of Weather or Not. We got another great show for you this week. Brian's in the studio to talk about your latest forecast, and we'll see whether or not we'll expect some weather for the start of the homecoming weekend. Veronica is going to be talking about flu season and what you can do to prevent getting sick. And, of course, a lot more with nature in the news stories. So kick back, relax, because Weather or Not starts right now. Welcome to Weather or Not. I'm your host, Michael Priante.
And I'm your forecaster, Brian Mastro.
Well, Brian, I don't know about you, but I've definitely enjoyed these past couple of days. It's been pretty warm, and I hope it continues.
Yeah, we've had some nice few days these past couple of days where we've had temperatures up in the 70s, which is very warm for the beginning of October. However, it won't be sticking around too much longer as we will be cooling down as we head into the weekend, but we'll find out the full details of that later on in my forecast.
Well, that's certainly a shame, but we're looking forward to your forecast, whether it's a good one or a bad one. But for now, here's some great nature in the news stories.
Hurricane Joaquin missed the east coast of the United States. However, that did not stop Joaquin from wreaking havoc elsewhere. Joaquin underwent rapid intensification from a tropical storm to Category 4 hurricane in under 36 hours. During this time, Joaquin was barely moving and was situated right over the Bahamas. The islands endured 3 days' worth of hurricane conditions as Joaquin's storm surge caused major flooding on many of the islands, causing untold damage to many neighborhoods. Thankfully, no reports of fatalities caused by Joaquin have come out of the Bahamas, but sadly, Joaquin still did claim lives. The American cargo ship SS El Faro, when en route to Puerto Rico, was lost at sea during the hurricane, believed to have sunk. While the search is ongoing, U.S. Coast Guard has found bodies and an empty life vest.
1. The forested areas around the abandoned nuclear site in Chernobyl, Russia, are starting to see signs of wildlife almost 30 years after the catastrophic nuclear accident. Animals and plants have been seen growing and thriving in these contaminated areas, despite years of desolation from radiated particulates. In 1986, the Chernobyl nuclear power plant suffered a massive explosion, which sent radiation into the air, spreading thousands of particulates hundreds of miles away. This disaster was the deadliest nuclear accident in history, and the effects are still prevalent throughout the abandoned site today. Despite the contamination, though, wildlife still flourishes, and nature continues to take back the land that once was occupied by humans. There's no doubt, though, that much of the flora and fauna in this region have been severely impacted by the radiation. Nevertheless, the surge in life in an area that once was thought to be lifeless truly shows that nature will always prevail.
A Michigan farmer tending to his soy field made a mammoth discovery while digging around what he thought was a fence post. What he had discovered was actually a mostly intact woolly mammoth, which had been stored underground for over 10,000 years, and what researchers are saying resembled a prehistoric refrigerator. Researchers believe early humans created a way to keep the mammoth's meat chilled for them to consume at a later time. The mammoth's skull, tusk, and much of its skeleton were still intact. Researchers hypothesized that the missing bones were used by the early humans to make tools and weapons. Paleontologists hope this discovery will allow them to better understand when humans first settled in the Michigan area.
South Carolina is slowly recovering from the tropical deluge late last week. Many places have received anywhere from 1 to 2 feet of rain in just a span of a few days. This historic and unprecedented event left thousands underwater and stranded on roadways. Although direct effects from Hurricane Joaquin were not felt along the eastern seaboard, tropical moisture from the system was directed directly into South Carolina. The combination of a strengthening low-pressure system in the Gulf, a strong high in Canada, and a stalled-out frontal system allowed for plenty of moisture to stream in from Hurricane Joaquin. Although the rain has subsided, the damage has been done, and conditions are expected to worsen through the next week. Dozens of dams in the state have either collapsed due to the floodwaters or are in danger of collapsing. Mandatory evacuations have been issued this past week and will continue until the floodwaters start to recede.
Hello, I'm Brian Mastro here to take a look at your central Pennsylvania forecast. So here's the setup that we'll be dealing with at the start of your weekend. We do have this low pressure system that we'll be dealing with right over the Great Lakes region at the start of your weekend, and this associated cold front that will be bringing some rain into our area on Friday. And unfortunately, we do have that homecoming parade on Friday, so if you are heading out, make sure you do bring an umbrella, bring that rain jacket, because you will most likely be dealing with some rain showers. And then moving along onto your day on Saturday, that rain will be moving out of our region, leaving us with now a high-pressure system sitting over the Great Lakes region that will be bringing this much cooler air down from Canada, dropping the temperature in Pennsylvania in many places over 10 degrees just in a 24-hour span. And then by the time we get to Sunday, everything is nice and sunny and dry, as now that high-pressure system now sitting over the Ohio region, just bringing us this dry conditions, and that will be setting up our pattern as we go into next week, but we'll have more on that during the extended forecast in a little bit. So here are the details for this weekend. For Friday, we are expecting a high temperature around 70 degrees, so it will be quite warm for this time of year. However, we are expecting those rain showers, so like I mentioned, make sure you do bring that umbrella, as you will be dealing with that, especially once we get into Friday afternoon and evening. And then for Friday night, those rain showers will be lingering around into the beginning of the overnight hours, dropping the temperature down to around 47 degrees. And then, but that will be clearing out into your day on Saturday, as we will have that temperature coming in around 58 degrees. So that will be dropping down 12 degrees just in that 24-hour span. However, it will be nice and dry, so we will not have another washout of a football game. And then for Saturday night, it will be getting quite cold. We'll be dropping all the way down to 41 degrees, some of the coldest air we've had yet so far this season, and some additional cloudiness will be building into our area as well, before everything clears out for Sunday, leaving us with a lovely end to your weekend and a temperature around 64 degrees, so make sure you're able to get out there and enjoy it. And now, here is Veronica with the feature on flu season.
As we begin to enjoy this autumn season, there's another side that isn't as fun as changing leaves, pumpkin picking, and Halloween. We're talking about that pesky pinch of a flu shot.
Everywhere that experiences a winter, there's a flu season. Shelley Hafner, registered nurse and manager for infection control and prevention at Penn State's Health Services, informs us when flu season begins and peaks.
Flu season can start at any time. Typically, it peaks between December and February, but flu is unpredictable. It can start at any time of the year.
Because flu season peaks from December through February, there seems to be some correlation with cooler temperatures. But how much does the weather truly impact flu season? The top theory is that there's something specific about the influenza virus that enables it to flourish in cold, dry weather. Cooler air and lower humidity promote the transmission of the influenza virus from one person to another. A study from the National Institute of Child Health and Human Development found that the virus forms a special outer coating in cold weather that helps it fly through the air and into another person. Flu is an airborne illness that can be transmitted to another person from as far as 6 feet. In the summer, the wet, humid air pulls the virus to the ground, so it's less likely to be inhaled by someone else.
Come January, it's too cold to be outside, so you're inside. You have large groups of people who are inside. And if you've got somebody who's sick with a coughing illness, and the flu is a respiratory illness, that coughing and putting those droplets out, it's pretty easy to transmit it if you're in a large group.
The second theory about the flu's winter spread is the enclosed space theory. People are indoors more often during the winter, they are in close contact more often, and this promotes transmission from person to person.
The studies have shown college campuses are ripe for any kind of a infectious disease outbreak. There's communal living. They're living in the residence halls, they're living in groups in apartments, fraternity houses. Anytime you have that kind of group living, especially when those people are going to class together, they're socializing together, you have some close contacts.
Another theory is the population's lower levels of vitamin D in the winter. The less sun exposure can weaken the immune system. Sun-exposed skin makes vitamin D, a vitamin that seems to have all kinds of health benefits. During the winter, when days are short and the sun is at a low angle, levels of the vitamin in the body tend to dip. In nations where children do not go to school in the summer, there is a more pronounced beginning to flu season, coinciding with the start of public school. It is thought that the environment is perfect for the spread of illness. Vitamin D production from ultraviolet B is the skin changes when the seasons and affects the immune system.
Penn State is significantly impacted. It's hard to say because a lot of people don't come in when they have the flu. We do see quite a few students that are sick with the flu.
A recent study estimated that lost earnings due to illness and loss of life amounted to over $15 billion annually, and the total economic burden of annual influenza epidemics amounts to over $80 billion. Also in the U.S., the flu season usually accounts for 200,000 hospitalizations and 41,000 deaths. So what can you do to protect yourself throughout the flu season?
In addition to getting the flu vaccine, stay away from people who are sick. Don't engage in activities such as where you're sharing drinks or something that you're sharing saliva, because that's one of the ways that flu is transmitted. Another thing is hand hygiene. Clean your hands. Carry those little hand sanitizers, bottles of hand sanitizers.
If you haven't gotten your flu shot, don't worry. There are plenty of resources and opportunities to take advantage of.
You can schedule an appointment through University Health Services. We are running 8 flu clinics. The first one starts on Monday the 28th. It will be at the Hub. We have 4 at the Hub, 1 at Pollock Commons, 1 at Johnston Commons, and then 2 here at the Health Center.
One last but important detail Shelley Hafner wanted to include was this.
So anybody who's even thinking of going to Vaughn, make sure you get your flu vaccine and get it now so that you have a good antibody response before Vaughn comes.
As you can see, there are many resources on and around the Penn State campus to keep you prepared and safe from flu season.
Thank you for that, Veronica. Hopefully everyone is able to stay healthy during this flu season. Now we'll be taking a look at your extended forecast, and we'll be starting by looking at your weekend recap, where we will have that high temperature around 7 degrees on Friday, however, with that rain showers, especially in the afternoon and evening hours. Before everything dries out for Saturday for our football game against Indiana, however, it will be significantly cooler, with that high temperature only coming in at 58 degrees. Before everything clears out on Sunday, we're leaving us with that high temperature at 64. And that will be leading us right into our pattern for next week, where it is quite dry and sunny pretty much every day, and that temperature on Monday right up around 70 degrees. But after Monday, that temperature does come down on this bar here, so we will be lingering right around our average temperature for this time of year for the rest of that week, and it will be quite sunny and quite dry.
Well, thanks, Brian, for that excellent forecast, although I don't know if I can call rain on Friday excellent.
Yeah, that rain could screw up portions of the homecoming parade, but luckily once that moves out, we will be dry for the rest of your weekend and into next week as well.
Oh, well, that sounds good. I'm glad that the weather's going to be shaping up to be very nice and dry for the next couple days. But for now, let's look at your Weather Whiz quiz. Earlier in the show, we asked you, which type of cloud is the highest in the atmosphere? Is it A, altostratus, B, cirrus, C, cumulus, or D, nimbostratus? If you guessed B, cirrus, you're right. Cirrus comes from the Latin word cirrus, which means fringe or wispy. And just like this weekend, hopefully we can see those cirrus clouds above.
Yeah, usually when we have cirrus clouds, since they're so high up in the atmosphere, they're not usually associated with precipitation, so they usually are consistent with nice weather patterns.
Well, that's good. I'm glad. I hope we see that this weekend during our home game against Indiana. But that's all we have for today. Thanks for tuning in to Whether or Not. I'm your host, Michael Priante.
And I'm your forecaster, Brian Mastro. Have a great day.